Well, Will, man, how are things over at TLD from your perspective? How are things going?
I mean, to be honest, there's progress being made.
Good.
I think at this point, the last couple of weekends have been in a positive direction. I think Paula was pretty decent, and then from there, I feel like we're probably regressing, if anything. Results weren't great. Pierce has been pretty strong, but now it's kind of flip-flopped. Now,
Yeah.
He got pretty sick the last couple of weeks, so Pierce hasn't been feeling too hot. So been a bit of a struggle, but Ryder's actually made progress. I feel like the last 3 races have been in the trend in the right direction, really. And they're working hard. They're trying really freaking hard right now. I know that everyone's going to say, well, you're going to say that, but it's the reality. None of this is easy, to get in the motos at the race. They're all working hard. So, I don't know. I think there's progression happening and we're making progress. So there's nothing else you can ask for.
Recently, Ryder moved back to Bakersfield, right? So is he not riding every day with you guys like at GH and stuff? Obviously, that's probably not.
Well, it's like not really. It's kind of a little bit blown out of proportion. He didn't move back. I mean, he just went up to his parents. He still has his place in Newport.
Okay.
No, I mean, he was working hard and they had some good tracks up there. There were some sand tracks for Southwick. It made sense. And he needed kind of a reset. Like this is his first full season, and I think it's easy to forget that for myself, let alone everyone else. It's hard this time of the year when you haven't experienced this many races in a row, and you're used to the 5 big races a year with a decent amount of time off between. And I felt it, and I didn't even race that many full seasons, so it's hard. I feel it right now without racing. It's this time of the year when you're traveled. At this point, I don't know how many races we've done, but 20 odd some races, it's a lot of travel. So it does weigh on you. But at the same time, like it was good for him to go back, get a reset. He's back down here with us this week. We rode Glen Helen today. So, just allowing a little bid of freedom. I mean, it's becoming a trend a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So, go back, reset. It was good to be up with the parents, and I'd kill to have my mom cook me dinner tonight too. So, I mean, I get it. I get all that stuff. So,
Sure.
It's all the above. A little bit of comfort goes a long way.
I feel the general public, the fans probably don't, you know how they are. We get hard on when the results really aren't there. We get hard on them, and I think he's got a lot to show still.
No, I agree, and I think we're starting to see those glimpses, and we'll get him out of the skate a little bit better this weekend. And I think we'll be up front.
How do you keep them focused when they're not getting the results that they'd like?
I mean, it's easy to lose morale, right? Like that's the tough thing, and then keeping it fresh. And then the outdoor tracks, we're limited, out here, and it's hard at times. It's hard at times to keep it fresh. And I think Frankie's done a really good job at honestly helping me keep it fresh as well, with just different ideas and talking to the riders, getting some of their feedback. We've changed up some exercises. Obviously, we were just doing some more motos type stuff, kind of putting them in the hole a little bit to get them back out on the off weekend was nice, and then get some confidence from some, honestly, just long, hard days.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you're able to work on a little bit of speed, and then you're in a 4-race swing, so there's only so much you can really do between weeks. It's pretty limited. Just from this side of it, like, race weekend takes a lot out of you with the travel and everything like that. So, it's just honestly just being open-minded at this point.
You mentioned how far into the season we are, and Supercross, and right up into nationals, and then SMX now, and whatever else the guys decide to do, if anything comes up off season, quote unquote. How do you help them figure out a balance between recovery during the week and training and even testing, right? Those things all have to be done, but you have to find a balance.
I mean, it's tough, dude. I mean, and at the same time, you got to throw that in that you have to be a kid at some point too, right? And not, but it's hard because this is your livelihood, and it's a short window. That's the biggest thing that I try to relay is like, you get this 10-year window of burning the candle. I've heard Johnny O say it. I've heard Dungey say it, and it's true. You get this 10 to 12 year of like what you can really get out of it. And yeah, you can make it longer, and that's trending in the right direction now that we're, I think, getting smarter, and training's getting more educated, everything like that. So, I guess more or less it's just, it's telling them to park it, sit on your butt, or, you can kind of see from just, a little bit of demeanor at the track too, and then effort. Like, it's not like they're not trying, but if they're smoked, they're smoked. So to me, it's kind of always a moving needle.
You've had a couple of years off the bike. Is your experience of certain tracks still translate to where you're able to help the riders, or is it kind of a whole like, yeah, I don't know how to ride that because that's not what it was
So
when I rode it back in the day, you know?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, even since I retired, the bikes have changed, you know, like quite a bit. Like I know there's still 4-strokes and everything, all the above, and even I would say the technique and almost the way you train has changed dramatically too. When I rode, you hit the hardest, roughest part of the track as hard as you could until you couldn't do it anymore. It's like now we're figuring out, man, you can jump those. And you don't have to just bulldog it, and you can be finesse and like you can enter that stuff. You know, you can just be smarter on the bike and be efficient. So I think it's more so the trends are always very similar outdoors, right? The passing areas, even though the tracks change, the passing areas end up being pretty similar. I would say, obviously, the prep affects everything, right? So that's one thing we just pay attention to in the morning and practice and relay. And you can kind of get an idea how to develop, but I think it's been good this year. It's been a nice change, regardless of maybe it's not as deep as years prior. I mean, Millville was, but for the rest of them, maybe they weren't, but I think it's good to have change. I feel like we went through 3 seasons there where every track was the same. Like it was just the same prep, the same dirt. I mean, the tire's the same. There's no different tire changes. Like, I think it's exciting right now that we're seeing it in between with the scoop. Like, normally years past, it's just scoop. Like, you're going to run it all day, and that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And I think right now you're seeing, you know, even races possibly, I would say, have been costed, but you know, by the tire. And we haven't seen that either. And I think that's exciting for everybody.
Talking about helping guys and helping Barcia, and you know, you race Barcia. Does there ever like feel different helping him with the other guys? You know, the fact that you kind of raced with him and had that relationship with them. How is it working with Barcia? And by the way, his gutting it out performance at Southwick was notable. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know what you're getting out of him every time he hits the track, right? Like you're going to get max effort. And I mean, yes, to be honest, when we did work together full time, like, it was times hard to give advice to someone that, even though, you know, he was younger than me, and I feel like I was kind of like, not the dad, but the older guy on the Geico team at the time. Like I was almost a mentor at some point. Like to me, it was kind of strange to be able to tell him, you know, hey, like do this in the turn or anything like that, or hit this line or whatever. I had to learn to kind of, like, I couldn't let that in my brain, right? Because like my job's to help him, you know, and you know, you could take it for whatever you want, but he was always super, like he would absorb it. Like he never once looked at it like I did, right? Like he always just took it in and applied it. Like to me, that was cool. And that kind of gave me some confidence by talking more about it. Cause yeah, I mean, that's a legitimate question. It was different because I mean, he beat me, you know, 90% of my career.
Yeah, it's a strange dynamic a little bit.
Yeah, I just thought of that. That's got to be kind of weird at first.
You just mentioned you hadn't been on a bike in a while, and I was going to ask you, like, do you get to ride? Do you want to ride? Will we ever see a run at Loretta's?
I mean, yes, to answer your question first, I haven't ridden in probably, it's getting close to probably 2 years.
Oh, wow.
It's the longest I've gone. I mean, I've been, don't get me wrong, I hop on the bike, I'll ride it, and then, you know, I've ridden at the sand track and gone and done a lap to see what it looks like, you know, to kind of understand where they're at. But no, like actually like gear up and ride. It's probably been the longest of my whole life. And it's mostly like, I'm excited to go ride. I don't really necessarily want to go to a public track where there's an expectation. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Like I would like to go ride maybe a private track or trails even, you know, like that's what I grew up riding, was like river bottoms and stuff like that. Like that sounds fun. But motivated to come ride a public track and get my doors blown off and constantly be judged? Not necessarily. No, not really. But with that said, yes, I do still want to ride. It's still there. I still have the itch. I don't think that'll ever go away. But and Loretta's, no, it doesn't interest me anymore. It's been too long. Like,
I understand.
It's the thought of it and being like in a group, like it sounds fun. Like it would be, you know, how fun would it be with TP and Kiefer and you, and like you have the boys, and like, I mean, there'd be a lot of banter. It'd be a good time, but I'm like, to go there, you either like in position, I feel like I'm in, you'd either have to put in a lot of time.
Yeah. To
go there the way you want to go, or not give a shit. And like, I don't think I can go there and not give a shit. Like, I don't think I can just go like, whatever happens. I just don't think I can. So it's like, I'd almost rather avoid it because the work required to get ready would be it's a lot.
I do understand that. Yeah, I understand. What's the best and worst thing about training the kids, the youth of today? Do they listen very well? Like, there's got to be something that just drives you crazy, and some good parts.
The good part is honestly being a small part of helping a kid chase his dream that I once, chased. And I think that that's being, 1% help to them, and being a small part of that still gives you that satisfaction of being a part of it. Right. Mm-hmm. That I can't do anymore. So, that part's amazing, and seeing them feel that progress the same way you did or whatever. And like I said, it's that part's special. When you get results, everything like that, or just even at home, sometimes there's just small wins, but it's cool to see. The next part of that, the worst part of it is, it's just different. You're different personalities. You have to learn, and luckily, like at Star is the same way as a manager. It's you have to really learn different personalities.
Yeah.
How the guy clicks, and everyone's so dramatically different, and what can send him off, and what keeps him in the right headspace, and kind of feeling him out as far as that goes. And then honestly, a lot of things have changed. Even I'm not that old, but it's the younger crowd is different. Like it's a different generation. It's understanding that, like I said, even moods and everything like that, or cooking them. Honestly, like it's just different. In a lot of ways. And I think that's just the involvement of our sport too. Like it is evolving it's not as, I don't want to say it's not as hard of work, because that's not the case, but there's a little bit, I feel like less, every moto's on a stopwatch, and a little bit more technique is starting to introduce itself back in. I think that's great.
Recently, you've worked a little bit with Colt Nichols, who just announced he's with Hep Suzuki. But I want to ask you helped Cole Davies a little bit, didn't you?
Yep. Yeah, I worked with Cole the whole time, and I still work with Colt right now.
Okay,
too.
you're still working. Okay. But he went to Star, right? He signed for Star. Was that kind of an annoyance at all, or you just understand the business?
Ultimately, when we set out, we had a goal, right? And the goal was to win futures and get a pro ride. And so taking my personal feelings out, because I did become really close to that family and Cole and his mom and dad, and his mechanic as well, Lucky. It's just really, really good family.
Yep.
Townley had called me a few years ago, and then we started talking, and then it ended up basically him handing me Cole. And Cole was amazing. Obviously, everyone saw his talents and how good he's going to be. It was a real bummer. Yes, I would say I was. Yeah, not even necessarily annoyed. I was just bummed. Like it was. To me, he was young. I had really the first kid, I would say, not built from scratch, but kinda it's like he didn't have any really gym experience coming to me, and it was kind of like something I could build up, right? And I think that was kind of cool. And exciting, and I think we did a good job of it. And at the end, I'm stoked for him.
Yeah,
right. Like
it's a great opportunity, right? And
that's exactly what I told him. I'm like, dude, like you got to do it. Like it was hard to leave me too, And I think that was, it's one of those things. We set out with a goal and we achieved it. I think that's really cool.